The first 24 years of my life were destroyed by two men with their own hands. The first was Ethan Shaw, the boy who had grown up beside me. To soothe Vivian Knox's wounded pride, he personally destroyed my future. He had my legs broken so badly that I would never skate again. The ice rink that had once been my entire world became a place I could only look at from a distance. The second man was Adrian Hunt. When my world collapsed, he appeared like a savior. He pulled me out of the darkness, took me away from the city filled with painful memories, and patiently helped me rebuild my life. He encouraged me to attend college, stood beside me when everyone else turned away, and made me believe I still had a future. I trusted him completely. Then he destroyed me. Just as I was preparing to return to school and continue my studies, Adrian stepped forward and testified against me. He accused me of academic fraud, shattering everything I had worked for. That wasn't enough. Later, he personally ordered the tendons in my hand to be severed. The same hands that once dreamed of writing research papers and building a career became useless. By the end, I died alone on a cold street, abandoned by everyone I had ever trusted. Then I opened my eyes. I was alive. The ceiling above me was familiar. The air smelled of home. Outside the window, the city lights sparkled beneath the night sky. My heart nearly stopped. I had been reborn. And not just at any time. I had returned to the night before my legs were broken. Arya, tomorrow's my birthday. You have to come. The familiar voice sent a chill down my spine. Across from me sat Ethan, smiling exactly as he had in my previous life. Every word, every expression, everything was the same. For a moment, I simply stared at him. Then a smile slowly curved my lips. This time, I wouldn't walk into the trap waiting for me. This time, I would be the one watching. The memory of bones cracking beneath brutal force flashed through my mind. My fingertips grew cold, and my chest tightened. Still, I forced myself to remain calm. I might have something else to do tomorrow. Before I could finish, Ethan's expression darkened. What do you mean? He asked sharply. Have I ever missed one of your birthdays? We've been friends for over 10 years, Arya. Are we friends or not? His tone carried the same familiar pressure, the same emotional manipulation. In my previous life, I had mistaken it for sincerity. Now I saw it for exactly what it was. A leash. I kept my face expressionless despite the storm raging inside me. So, I absolutely have to be there? Ethan leaned back in his chair. That's your decision, he replied coldly. Whether you still value our friendship is up to you. Friendship. The word almost made me laugh. In my previous life, the moment my legs were broken, Ethan had disappeared from my life. No phone calls. No visits. No concern. When Vivian and her friends mocked me, humiliated me, and shoved me to the ground in public, Ethan stood nearby and watched. Then he walked away. Without hesitation. I had spent years wondering what I had done wrong. How 10 years of friendship could end in such ruthless betrayal. Now I finally understood. There had never been friendship to begin with. Only convenience. Fortunately, this time was different. I had another chance. And I wouldn't waste it. After ending the call, I left the house to clear my head. The evening traffic hummed around me as I approached a busy intersection. Suddenly, headlights exploded in my vision. A black sedan barreled toward me at terrifying speed. My blood froze. There was no time to move. No time to think. Instinctively, I squeezed my eyes shut. Was this fate's cruel joke? Had I been given a second chance only to lose it immediately? Then a powerful force yanked me backward. I stumbled hard and nearly fell. The car shot past with a deafening roar before disappearing down the street. Breathing heavily, I looked up and met a pair of familiar eyes. Dark, deep, unreadable. Adrian Hunt. The moment I saw him, nausea twisted violently in my stomach. In my previous life, this man had saved me. Then he had destroyed me. Are you all right? His voice was gentle and concerned. To anyone else, he would have looked like a hero. But now that I knew the truth, all I could see was the cold calculation hidden behind his mask. A chill crept through me. I still couldn't understand why he had targeted me in my previous life. Why he had carefully built my trust only to tear everything apart later. I remembered standing in front of a crowd, desperately trying to prove my innocence when the academic fraud accusation surfaced. Adrian had stepped forward, not to defend me, but to confirm the allegations. As my boyfriend, his words carried enormous weight. Then, he publicly apologized on my behalf. The internet praised him for his loyalty and sacrifice. Everyone believed him. After all, why would a loving boyfriend lie? The accusations became my permanent label. No matter how hard I fought, nobody listened. Eventually, I gave up. And when someone later severed the tendons in my hands, Adrian locked me inside a luxurious villa. A beautiful prison. I became completely dependent on him. A puppet incapable of escaping. This life would be different. Not only would I escape them, I would make them pay. Arya? Adrian frowned slightly. The impatience that flickered through his eyes lasted only a second, but I caught it. Without hesitation, I pulled my arm away from his grasp. Thank you, Mr. Hunt. The distance in my voice was unmistakable. I turned to leave, but Adrian followed. That's it, he asked. I save your life, and all I get is a thank you? I stopped and looked back. A cold smile touched my lips. What exactly do you want, Mr. Hunt? His eyebrows lifted. I continued. Do you expect me to repay you with my body? For the first time, genuine shock appeared on his face. At this point in our previous life, we were practically strangers. The old Arya would have been endlessly grateful, but that Arya had died on a lonely street. Without waiting for his response, I got into my car and drove away. The moment I stepped through the front door of my house, emotion overwhelmed me. Everything was exactly as I remembered. The familiar furniture, the scent of dinner lingering in the air, the family photos hanging on the walls. Tears streamed uncontrollably down my cheeks. My mother immediately rushed over. Arya, what happened? My father stood up from the couch, concern written across his face. For a moment, I simply stared at them. Alive. Both of them were alive. In my previous life, after Adrian imprisoned me, my parents searched desperately for me. When they began suspecting Adrian's involvement, they became targets. Their company was destroyed, their reputations ruined, and eventually they lost their lives. The grief nearly crushed me, but now they were standing right in front of me, safe, breathing, smiling. I quickly made up an excuse about having a stressful day and managed to calm their worries. Later that night, after they went to bed, I sat alone in my room. The glow from my laptop illuminated the darkness. I hired a private investigator and ordered a complete background check on Ethan, Vivian, and Adrian. 3 hours later, the files arrived. The screen filled with names, transactions, relationships, and hidden connections. The more I read, the colder my body became. By the time I reached the final page, it felt as though I had fallen into an endless ice cave. The truth was far worse than I had imagined. As I stared at the investigation files spread across my desk, the final pieces of the puzzle slowly fell into place. So that was the truth. The first person who had fallen in love with Vivian wasn't Ethan. It was Adrian. Long before Ethan entered the picture, Adrian had already been watching her. Unfortunately for him, Ethan and Vivian had grown up together. By the time Adrian realized his feelings, Ethan had already taken the place that should have belonged to him. From that moment on, Adrian silently became Vivian's protector. And I became nothing more than a disposable pawn. A tool. A sacrifice. Someone they could ruin without guilt. The realization left a bitter taste in my mouth. While scrolling through the reports, my phone vibrated nonstop. Ethan. Message after message flooded the screen. Arya, I'm waiting for you. If you don't come, my birthday won't feel complete. Didn't you say we'd always be together? I miss you. I laughed softly. 99 unread messages. 99 reminders that the man who had destroyed my life was eager to lure me back into his trap. This time, however, I wasn't the prey. After several moments, I finally typed a reply. I'll be there. The response came almost instantly. I'll wait for you. My fingers tightened around the phone. Once upon a time, those words would have made me happy. Back then, Ethan had promised me something. No matter when you text me, I'll always reply immediately. And for years, he had kept that promise. Until Vivian appeared. Everything changed afterward. I still couldn't understand how a scholarship student who had transferred into our school could completely change Ethan in less than 6 months. In my previous life, I genuinely disliked Vivian. Not because she was poor, not because she was a scholarship student, but because she constantly weaponized her circumstances. Whenever group assignments were due and I asked her to contribute, tears would instantly fill her eyes. Arya, do you hate me because I'm poor? Are you targeting me? At first, Ethan defended me. Are you insane? He would snap at Vivian. That's not what Arya meant. But gradually things changed. His defense became hesitation. Then excuses. Then blame. Come on, Arya, he'd sigh. Vivian didn't mean anything by it. At the time, I was too blind to notice. Too trusting. Too foolish. Sometimes I even vented my frustrations about Vivian to Ethan. I had no idea those conversations would eventually become the evidence used against me. The justification for my destruction. I would never forget the hatred in Ethan's eyes that day. Do you really look down on people that much? What has Vivian ever done to you? Why do you keep targeting her? Is it because she likes me? Arya, when did you become such a vicious person? His voice still echoed in my nightmares. Then came the final sentence. The sentence that destroyed my life. Let's see how you skate without your legs. That day became the darkest day of my existence. Afterward, there were countless nights when death seemed easier than living. My parents fought desperately for justice. They went to the Shaw family. They begged for witnesses. No one helped. Instead, the Shaw family retaliated. Pressure. Threats. Humiliation. Looking back now, I realized that wasn't the end. It was only the beginning of my descent into hell. Taking a deep breath, I pushed those memories aside. This time would be different. I made several phone calls before finally collapsing into bed. The next morning arrived quickly. My phone rang before I had even finished breakfast. Ethan, don't forget to come. His voice carried a hint of nervous excitement. Okay, I replied calmly. After hanging up, I used an anonymous number to send a carefully prepared message to Adrian. Then I contacted both my parents and Ethan's parents. Every piece on the board was moving exactly where I wanted it. Now all I had to do was wait. That evening, I arrived at Ethan's birthday party. The venue was extravagant. Crystal chandeliers sparkled overhead. Expensive music drifted through the hall. Members of our social circle, classmates, and several business families filled the room. At the center of it all stood Ethan. And beside him stood Vivian, like a hostess greeting guests. The moment I entered, conversations immediately slowed. Everyone's attention shifted toward us. After all, nearly everyone believed Ethan and I were destined to end up together. Now Vivian occupied the place that should have been mine. Naturally, people were eager to watch the drama unfold. The second Vivian noticed me, her face turned pale. She quickly hid behind Ethan. Arya, I'm sorry. I just wanted. I cut her off immediately. Happy birthday. I handed Ethan his gift. Simple. Polite. Nothing more. Then I turned to leave. Unfortunately, Ethan grabbed my wrist. You're leaving already? His smile stiffened. You just got here. Are you really not giving me any face today? The possessiveness in his voice was impossible to miss. Across from us, Vivian's expression darkened. Jealousy flashed openly in her eyes. I raised an eyebrow. Looks like someone's about to cry. I glanced toward Vivian. Shouldn't you go comfort her? Ethan followed my gaze. Immediately, concern filled his face. Vivian? Her eyes reddened on cue. She shook her head pitifully. The performance was flawless. If I didn't know better, I might have applauded. Then Ethan rounded on me. Arya, are you bullying Vivian again? I almost laughed. Bullying? I hadn't even touched her. That's impressive, I said dryly. I can bully people from across the room now. A few nearby guests snorted. Ethan's face darkened. I continued. You insisted I come here. Now you're accusing me of things I haven't done. What exactly are you trying to accomplish? The surrounding crowd had heard everything. Whispers immediately spread. Seriously, what did Arya even do? Vivian started crying for no reason. She's always acting like a delicate little flower. The comments weren't loud, but Vivian heard them. Her face flushed crimson. For the first time, genuine embarrassment appeared in her eyes. Yet Ethan still refused to see reason. Instead, he glared at me. Happy now? Before I could answer, Vivian turned and ran away dramatically. Ethan. Without hesitation, he chased after her. Watching their retreating figures, I felt nothing. No heartbreak. No jealousy. Only anticipation. Ethan. This is merely the beginning. Tonight, you'll finally understand what despair feels like. My gaze slowly shifted toward the stage. Several people I had hired were already in position. Everything was ready. No one would be escaping tonight. A faint smile appeared on my lips. Then suddenly, I felt someone watching me. I turned and met a familiar pair of eyes. Adrian. For a brief moment, his expression slipped. Something dark flashed across his face before he quickly masked it with a polite smile. Of course, Vivian's most devoted guardian couldn't possibly miss this event. Just then, my phone vibrated. A message arrived. After reading it, the smile in my eyes deepened. Perfect. Everything was proceeding according to plan. Without hesitation, I walked directly toward Adrian. Mr. Hunt. His smile stiffened. What a coincidence. I tilted my head. You know Ethan? A slight frown appeared between his brows.
No.
The answer came too quickly.
Oh.
I smiled innocently. Then who are you here for? A flicker of panic crossed his face. After all, tonight was Ethan's birthday party. If he wasn't here for Ethan, then who was he here for? For the first time, Adrian seemed at a loss for words. Under my unwavering gaze, he finally forced an awkward smile. I was just here to see the excitement. Really? I nodded thoughtfully. Then I suddenly raised my voice. Ladies and gentlemen, the room quieted. I pointed toward Adrian. The man standing here is the youngest vice president of a major technology company. Shouldn't you all come introduce yourselves? The effect was immediate. Students and guests surged forward. Within seconds, Adrian was completely surrounded. Questions flew at him from every direction. Business cards appeared. People eagerly sought connections. Meanwhile, while everyone was distracted, I slipped away unnoticed, straight toward backstage. And there, I witnessed exactly what I had been waiting for. My heart pounded. Without hesitation, I pulled out my phone and started recording. The footage would become tonight's most powerful weapon. After securing the evidence, I calmly returned to the main hall. By then, Ethan was searching everywhere for me. The moment he spotted me, a strange smile appeared on his face. The trap he believed he had prepared was finally about to spring. 5 minutes later, the party officially began. Ethan stepped onto the stage, a microphone in hand, a spotlight shining overhead. Everyone turned toward him. Thank you all for coming tonight. His gaze swept across the crowd, then settled on me. For a brief second, before shifting away, I'd like to thank one person in particular. A murmur rippled through the audience. Everyone naturally assumed he meant me. Instead, Ethan extended his hand. Vivian. The crowd erupted in surprise. Vivian hurried onto the stage, her cheeks flushed. Ethan. Today, Ethan looked at her as though she were the only person in the world. I've hidden this for a long time. His voice echoed throughout the ballroom. The person I've always liked is Vivian. Gasps sounded from every direction. As for Arya and me, he glanced toward me. We've only ever been childhood friends. For the first time, hearing those words didn't hurt, because this time I already knew the truth. Then came the confession. The flowers. The tears. The dramatic declarations of love. The audience watched like it was a romantic movie. But Ethan wasn't finished. His gaze landed on me once more, and his expression hardened. There's one more thing. His voice turned cold. For years, people have misunderstood my relationship with Arya. I know she spread many of those rumors herself. The crowd immediately began whispering. I've tolerated it long enough. Today, I'm going to seek justice for Vivian. The moment he finished speaking, several men began moving toward me through the crowd. Exactly as they had in my previous life. Exactly according to plan. Except this time, I was prepared. Before the men could reach me, the ballroom doors burst open. Everyone turned. My parents entered. Beside them were Ethan's parents. The color instantly drained from Ethan's face. Mom?
Dad.
What are you doing here? His voice cracked slightly. His parents looked confused. It's your birthday, his mother replied. Why wouldn't we come? At that moment, I let out a terrified scream. Who are these people? What do they want? My parents immediately rushed to my side. Ethan's parents followed. The approaching men froze. The entire atmosphere shifted. Confusion spread across Ethan's face. Nothing was happening the way it was supposed to. Behind him, I caught Vivian's eye, then slowly mouthed 2 words. You're finished. The next second, loud moaning sounds suddenly echoed through the hall. Everyone froze. Heads snapped toward the giant screen above the stage. And what appeared there left the entire ballroom stunned into silence. The screen above the stage showed everything. Every word. Every arrangement. Every whispered promise. The footage had been recorded backstage, less than an hour ago. In it, Ethan stood close to a man I recognized, one of the hired attackers, and spoke in a low, deliberate voice. Make sure her legs are the target. I want it to be permanent. Vivian stood beside him, nodding, smiling. Not a victim, a co-conspirator. The ballroom erupted. Gasps. Screams. chairs scraping backward as people instinctively stepped away from Ethan as though he had become something contagious. Ethan's face had gone completely white. His mouth opened and closed. No sound came out. Vivian pressed herself against the wall, both hands covering her face, but there was nowhere left to hide. The chandeliers still sparkled overhead. The expensive music had stopped. On the stage, a microphone lay abandoned on the floor. Ethan's mother let out a sharp cry and grabbed her husband's arm. His father stood absolutely still, staring at the screen as if he didn't recognize the face on it. Then he turned to look at his son. That look alone was enough. It contained no warmth, no defense, only the cold beginning of disgust. I watched from the center of the room, perfectly still, perfectly calm. Someone nearby whispered my name with pity. I didn't need their pity. I needed